Hi folks, I have another video for you on naming alcohols. I will go through the steps first about how to name an alcohol first, and then I have an example for you as well on the right side. So let's go through the steps first. Steps to naming an alcohol. Well, number one, the first step for naming any organic compound is to identify the longest chain. In this case, we are trying to name an alcohol. So we have to identify the longest chain in the molecule that contains the hydroxyl group or groups. Step number two, name the longest carbon chain. And we will name this longest carbon chain as an alkane. So all the rules for the alkane naming applies here. Step number three, we replace the E at the end of the alkane name with the ending OL. And this is done if there is only one alcohol group or one hydroxyl group present in the compound. If there are more than one hydroxyl groups in the compound, then we do not replace the E. We just add the prefix to indicate how many hydroxyl groups we have with OL at the end of the name. For example, if we have two hydroxyl groups, that would make it a diol, di representing two, and all representing the alcohol group. If there were three hydroxyl groups present in the molecule, then we would name it as a triol, tri representing three, and all representing the alcohol group, and so on. Once we have that, then we have to also indicate the location of the hydroxyl group. And this is where there are two naming systems currently being used together. One is an old system, and the other one we will say is the new recent change. In the old system, what we would do is we would put the location of the hydroxyl groups in front of the name. So we will look at an example on the right hand side soon. But the numbers, the position numbers for the hydroxyl group will go right in the front. In the new system, what they have done is they have changed this slightly. The location of the hydroxyl groups in the new system is placed with the family name OL. This reduces the amount of confusion if you have a compound that has multiple different families or which belongs to multiple different families. Once that's done, step number 5, we have to number the carbons so that we can indicate or identify the positions of the hydroxyl groups. And the last step, number 6, if you have any other branches, we have to name those branches and put them in alphabetical order in the front of the name. So over here on the right, we have an example. I have drawn the same compound in a line structural diagram form as well as a condensed structural diagram. In both diagrams, we can name it as the old way and as the new way. So let's try the old way. So old system. Based on the old system, let's try to name it. First step, we will try to identify the longest carbon chain. In this case, we have 4 carbons in a chain. So 4 carbons would be bute. And we will name it as a butane. So over here I have a name, butane, representing the longest carbon chain. Next, let's look at the alcohol groups. We have in this compound are 2 alcohol groups. Now, alcohol groups have high priority. So, when naming the compound, we want to name the compound so that alcohol groups will obtain the lowest position numbers possible. So, in this case, we will not start with the side which gives bromine the smaller number. We will have to start with the side which gives the alcohol group or the hydroxyl group the smallest position number. So numbering the carbons, this would be carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4. And the top one would be carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4. Writing those numbers down is useful because it helps us to identify the location of the branches attached to our carbon. Now, once we have the butane part, let's place the information about the alcohol groups. Since in this case we have two alcohols in there, we will not be replacing the ending E of the word butane. We will only be adding the suffix at the end. Since in this case we have two alcohols, it would be a diol. So now we have a butane diol, indicating a 4-carbon chain with 2 hydroxyl groups. Now, we have 2 hydroxyl groups, but the name is not telling us where the location is. So we have to add the information about the location. The location of the hydroxyl group are on position 1 and position 2. So using the old system, we will place that information in the front 1 and 2 and with a dash. So it becomes now 1,2-butane diol. This name is telling us that we have a 4-carbon chain with 2 alcohol groups. The first one is on position 1 and the second on position 2. So we have named the alcohol. Now we do also have another branch attached to this alcohol. The branch is attached on the 3rd carbon, which is a bromine, which is as a branch named as bromo. This bromo is located on the 3rd carbon, so we can place that information in front of the molecule 3-bromo and dash. So based on the old system, the name of this compound will be 3-bromo 1,2-butane diol. Now, let's try the new system. So the new one I will do right below it. How would the new name be different from the old one? The new system, we will do the same thing for the part where we identify the longest chain, which would make it butane. Now, since it has more than 2 alcohol groups, it will also be a diol. So diol, indicating that there are 2 alcohol groups. Now, the location. So you see I have a space between the butane and the diol. The location of the diol, the alcohol groups, actually will be placed with the word diol. So the 1 and the 2, the locations for the alcohol groups will go right here. 1, 2, diol. So the name of the alcohol would be butane 1,2-diol, representing a 4-carbon alcohol with the alcohol groups on position 1 and position 2. Now, the last part, we have a branch attached on position 3. The branch will be placed in front of the name, so that would become 3-bromo butane 1,2-diol. So the new naming system, this compound would be called 3-bromo butane 1,2-diol. So the only difference here is between the old and the new system, we are placing the location of the functional group or the family with the name or in front of the name. Right. So if you found this useful, please let me know. Please post a comment, and if you have any more requests, please feel free to post it on the comments so I can bring more videos like this for you. Have a great day. Enjoy.